Most fishermen obsess over which lure and what color, but there are three factors that are way more important, and you're probably not even considering two of them. Understanding these key principles will help you know how to catch big bass, so let's dive in.
So when it comes to fishing, everybody wants to talk about, hey man, what bait are you using? And then what color is it? What color? I'll tell you what, out of the top five to me, those are number 4 and number 5 in the most important factors of catching fish. With the lure and color being number 4 and 5, let me share with you my top 3 factors for getting bit. Now to me, the number 1 factor for getting bit, and I don't think you can dispute this, is location. Look over my shoulder, a bunch of laydowns, it's prime spring location for bass to spawn. Tell you what, the wrong lure in the right place, if there's enough fish back here, everybody that comes through is at least gonna catch 1 or 2. They're not that selective, you'll catch some. In contrast, if this water turns icy and muddy back here, it's 38 degrees in mud, and there's no fish back here, I don't care what bait, what color, how you work it, doesn't matter. So location, let's everybody agree to that. That's far and away number 1. Get in the right spot. If the fish are there, you're gonna catch some. Now, before we get into number 2 and number 3, the baits I'm talking about are Texas rigs and jigs, baits you're gonna cast out and let go to the bottom and work it back to the boat. So factor number 2 to me is rate of fall. How fast does it drop? Sometimes you want a really slow fall where it's barely going to the bottom and creeping down. And other times you want it just racing down to the bottom, getting a reaction strike. Let's talk about when fast and when slow works better. So a lot of times I want a slow fall. On a Texas rig, that means going with like an 1/8 ounce, real light weight, or on a jig, maybe a 1/4 or 3/8, going with something lighter. That's when the water is muddy. I want them to get a good look at it. When it's colder, I want them to be able to see it and kind of draw them in slowly. They're not going to race towards something. That's where a slow fall, to me, I think, is key. It's going to help you get more bites. Now, the flip side of that is in clear water and when the water's warm. And these rules aren't absolute, but a lot of the time in clear water, the longer they look at it, the more apt they are to not bite it. Sometimes I want to sit there and study it for a long time, but a lot of times you need to force them to react. So in clear water, when it's warmer and they're active, I want that bait to hit the water and race down. That fish, it goes by him, he either has to decide to bite it or let it go. That's truly a reaction bite. That's when a heavier bait, that 1/2 ounce jig, 3/4 ounce jig, 3/8 on your Texas rig, that's when it's going to get you more bites. Now this third one's a little bit more complex and it's kind of intertwined with the weight. But to me, this makes a huge difference. And that's how your bait falls, whether it drops or it kind of glides. So let me explain. This is a Berkeley crud craw. It's a craw with a lot of action. This thing, the arms flap. It's going to fall fairly slowly for the size weight that you have on it. And depending on the weight, it's going to fall a little bit differently. Now, if I put a big weight on this, like 3/8 and bigger, this bait, when it hits the water, is going to fall almost vertically. It's going to go straight down. If I use a lighter weight on this, say like a 1/4 or an 1/8, it's going to have a tendency to hit the water and kind of pendulum back, almost swim or glide back. To me, that makes a huge difference to fish a lot of times, and it's something that people really don't take into account. They just say, well, we got a big weight on it, a light weight, whatever. Different baits swim differently based on different weights. If you have, say, a 10-inch worm, classic bait, you need almost like a 1/2 ounce weight to make that thing fall down, and almost like an ounce to make that thing fall down straight. So many times we fish like a 10-inch worm with a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce weight. Well, guess what? That's almost like a swim bait. It wants to kind of pendulum and swing and really glide and swim back towards the boat. Sometimes fish want a bait with more of a vertical drop. They want something going straight down. It's that reaction. It's either it goes right by them and go right past their nose where they can either bite it or turn away from it. Other times they want something that's kind of swimming along and just gliding and hanging there, so they have a long time to look at it, and it's something that's swimming left to right. So for Texas rigs, the amount of weight, like I said, a 10-inch worm or an action tail like this, if I put big weight on it, I make it drop vertically. If I put a light weight on it, I make it swim. Now in jigs, you kind of get the same effect. Depending on how much weight you use and what type trailer, if you just have a kind of a flat trailer, like a chunk or this creature hog, or if you put more of an action craw in the back, depending on the weight, like I said, and the tails, the action, you can look at that jig in the water. Sometimes it's going to drop, sometimes it's going to glide. You know, it's kind of funny. A lot of times you see tournament reports and guys are really specific on, oh man, I had to have this green color worm, or I was fishing with this heavier weight or whatever. But then you look at the report, the top 10, and guys are fishing bushes. Everybody's fishing bushes, fishing a little bit different. To me, I think on a lot of days, fish want a fast drop or a slow drop. They want something that's going straight down, or they want something more gliding. So you can accomplish that with a multiple different baits. So the next time you're out fishing not getting bit, don't just change the color or change your lure. Take into account how fast it's dropping, whether it's gliding or dropping straight down. I think that'll help you figure out why you're getting bit, or maybe you're not.